We would all just take our seats. I appreciate your patience. Welcome to the special called meeting this afternoon. We will start off by having a moment of silence. It will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would, please stand with me.
Can I ask that we also have a moment of silence for
Bond.
Warren Bond?
Yeah, and also our county photographer, his father passed away, so keep the Bond family in your prayers as well. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our June 25th, 2024 special called meeting. The first order of business is the adoption of the agenda.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second the motion. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. All right, first agenda item is Resolution 2024-162, providing for the adoption of Clayton County fiscal year 2025 budget. Miss,
Yeah, I'll just read it.
All right, Mr. Reed.
And then, Resolution 2024-162 is a resolution providing for the adoption of the Clayton County fiscal year 2025 budget to provide for the appropriation of expenditures and accounting of anticipated funding sources, to provide for the circumstances under which the budget may be amended by the Board of Commissioners, the chairman or the chairman's designee, to provide an effective date of this resolution, and for other purposes. And we're looking to see if we can get IT to come in and put the presentation on the board here shortly.
Are they on their way?
It makes it do.
I know that.
Again, I appreciate everybody's patience.
Good afternoon, Chair and Vice Chair. How are you this morning?
Doing well. This afternoon now.
Yes, this afternoon. Okay, we're going to go through the slides for the proposed budget and the amendments associated with the budget. Well, maybe we are. The budget process for this year, the budget request was sent to departments on January 4th. We held a budget class on January 10th. The budget request deadline was February 2nd. The meetings with departments took place April 4th through the 24th with the chairman, the COO, the DCO, the CFO, and the budget team. The budget hearing was held on June 18th, 2024, and budget adoption is scheduled for today at 12. Analyzing the budget request as submitted by departments, salaries and benefits totaled $184.8 million. Additional personnel requests were $25.8 million. Regular operating, $133.7 million. Minor computer equipment, $2 million. Other minor equipment, $1.2 million. Capital, $36.2 million. For a total budget request of $383.7 million, $91 million over the FY24 adopted budget. The general fund revenue projection was $284 million for a variance of $99 million, balancing the budget. Additional personnel requests were reduced from $25.8 million to $8 million. Regular operating expenses were reduced from $133.7 million to $119.3 million. Minor computer equipment requests were reduced from $1.9 million to $900,000. Other minor equipment was reduced from $1.2 million to $200,000. Capital was reduced from $36.2 million to $3.8 million. Total reductions totaling $66.8 million. The variance after the cuts were $32 million. A tax increase was used to balance the budget of 2.5 mills. How did we get here? Contractual costs increased over last year, about 6.6 million. County liability insurance increased 1.3 million. Medical claims expense increased 1.3 million. R&M buildings increased 3 million. Electric and water both increased. Personnel costs increased also, and there was a decrease in revenue. The public utility tax last year, as collected at 15.1 million. Current year, the collections are 9 million, and it's projected to decrease again next year to the tune of 7 million. Yes,
Sorry to
ma'am?
interrupt, but can you tell us what the R&M buildings are for the public?
For the public, it increased by 3 million.
Okay,
The-
what
the
does it stand
acronym.
for?
The
Oh,
R.
repair and maintenance on
Okay.
buildings, on the
Okay, so
county
everybody
buildings.
will know, right.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Can you
Uh-huh.
also repeat the decrease in our revenue? Again?
The public utility tax, revenue collected in FY '23 was 15.1 million. For FY '24, it was reduced to 9 million. And next year, it's anticipated to drop again to 7 million for an $8 million decrease in revenue for one line item, public utility tax.
Okay, well, do we stand to have any increase in cost for that? Our projected cost?
Well, with the revenue decreasing,
Correct.
then the expenses are higher because you don't have that revenue there to cover it. Yes, sir. The general fund revenue estimate, property taxes represent 67% of our budget, other taxes 24%, and charges for services 8%. The general fund expenses, personnel represents 66% of the budget, regular operating 36%, capital 1%, and other uses 5%. The general fund budget is $317 million, which is a 3% decrease compared to the FY '24 amended budget. New positions, there is 0 compared to 21 last year. Reclassifications in the proposed budget are 0 compared to 60 last year. There's a 4% COLA for employees this year. The new ethics board was approved by the legislature and needed to be included in this budget. It's an unfunded mandate from the state. Capital is funded primarily through SPOS, which are life-to-date funds and don't need to be budgeted every year. The anticipated projects to be completed during FY '25, the County Record Center, the Northwest Library Site Enhancement, the Small Business Incubator, the Gateway Signs, the IT Bunker, Phases 2, 3, and 4 of the River's Edge Walking Trail, Fire Station 1, upgrades to the concession stands at Morrow Lake City Park, Rum Creek Park, and Rex Park, the Shellnut Senior Center renovation, the Water Rescue Training Facility, the Fleet Maintenance Facility expansion, the Winter Weather Supply Storage Facility, the tennis court resurfacing, and to also begin work on the amphitheater at the International Park. It will be called the Lakeview Event Center. Let's get into amendment number 1. For Human Resources to add an online payment system for retirees in the total amount of $7,480. For Magistrate Court to correct the salary and benefits, there was an increase approved at the state legislature, and that increase required some changes. Those changes were not included in the budget along with some other corrections. So the change for Magistrate Court is $944,003. Those two items will be paid for by reducing the operating transfer outs of $951,483 to maintain the budget at $316.9 million. That's Amendment 1. Amendment 2 is a reclassification for central services. And there are several adds and deletes for central services to total a cost of $445,408. Which would be accomplished through a reduction in operating transfer outs to maintain the adopted general fund budget of $316.9 million. Okay. The motions would be to adopt the proposed budget book plus amendments 1 and 2, or the proposed budget amendment book and amendment 1, or the proposed budget book and amendment 2.
All right, anybody have any questions for Ms. Jackson, prior to
Yes.
motion.
On Amendment 2, for central services. They handle, I guess, our SPLOST and our other contractual obligations, correct, from our buildings and contractual services, is that correct?
They handle the vast majority of all contractual services.
Correct. And how many projects are they managing as of now? Are that
I believe the last count that Ms. Carroll ran for us on number of contracts they were processing was about 130 individual contracts.
Okay. Are there any other contracts that Ms. Rogers handles other than those 130?
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners. To your point, we do manage the SPLOST projects, but overall, we do manage approximately 400 contracts for the county. That includes annual contracts, professional service agreements, but the majority, the 130 that we're looking at, that Deputy COO is referring to, are SPLOST projects as well as supporting contracts for those SPLOST projects.
Okay. And do any of those, are there any special certifications needed to handle any of these projects?
Yes, for the GDOT projects, when we receive funding, we are required to be certified through GDOT. Yes, we do.
And how many do we have on staff to handle?
We
those?
currently have 2.
We have 2.
Right.
And
So any funding that comes down from GDOT for roadway projects, even though it comes from GDOT, if it's federal funding, we are required to actually go through the process of being certified through GDOT for that. That is a requirement.
okay. And what about state funding? Prime example, LMIG funding.
If the funding is not from a federal source, then we do have to look at all three. We have to look at the procurement between the state and between the county. Whichever one is more stringent, that's the procurement process we have to follow. So we do have to look at multiple procurement processes.
Okay. And if we don't have anybody to handle those, do we have to send those funds back to those originating sources, or how's that handled as far as, I guess, quality of work and craftsmanship?
Sure.
I know we've had situations with several of the rec centers and other projects that have gone on throughout the county.
Sure. So if it is a project that is a grant funded and it has a timeline on it, then yes, that money has to be expended within a certain time frame. We do have to look at the grant to determine what is the procurement method, and we have to follow that. If it's not procured within that time frame, the grant money could go back, or if it's procured and not correctly, we would have to reimburse that grant as well.
And so in essence, to invest in this, and I'm looking at this more as an investment rather than just a cost, a spend, can begin to save us money. If with 400 to 500 contracts that are out there, even if 10% of them were deemed unsatisfactory, we would begin to reap those benefits back.
Right.
And a cost savings.
Yes, sir. And statistics show that when you're talking about managing contracts, when you're just talking about a regular commodity contract, if it's not managed properly, that could be a waste of $8,000. If you're talking about a contract that is kind of mid-complex, that could be anywhere up to $25,000. But if you're talking about a complex project, there could be $50,000, whether that's through loss of services or goods, or whether that's a change order. Those are numbers, whether they're soft costs or hard costs, that could be to the county, yes.
So even if it's, let's just say $30,000 times 100 of them, that's $3 million right there.
It is possible, yes.
Thank you.
And we have 2 people right now on staff that
That is
administer all
certified
that.
for the GDOT projects, yes,
Okay.
ma'am. So as the funds come down through transportation and development, we have to look at who can actually monitor that, and also at the same time, making sure that the current 400 contracts, that we're making sure they don't lapse.
So this will help enhance the whole system and all.
Yes, ma'am, certainly, because with the salary increase, we can make sure that we have people that are certified and qualified. And certainly with the management, we can ensure that there's regular discussions about projects, not just when it becomes an issue. We want to really intervene and not chase it, so to speak.
And
Want
this
to be
could be, I'm sorry.
proactive.
Yes, ma'am,
sounds like,
proactive
instead
for
of
sure.
reactive.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Would this decrease the hold time on some of the projects?
Oh, most certainly, yes, because we actually have a queue list, and I think we may have just 30 projects in queue that we have not even been able to get to. We prioritize, and certainly we work with the COO and the DCO to determine what are the county needs. We look at grant funding to make sure that we get those projects out without losing the grant, but yes, there's a queue list.
Okay, and the longer it stays in the queue, possibly the higher it's going to cost in the future.
Right, are there services that are not being procured for the county and citizens?
All right. Thank you, Ms. Rogers.
Thank you.
Okay, my question. Because this was not part of the proposed budget, but of course this additional information is coming out for me very simply. And Ms. Rogers, you and your team have always have a way of making it work and getting the work done. But when we're looking at adding positions and changing pay scales and so forth, for me, very simply, what's the major impact, if there is a major impact, in terms of what is being proposed through this amendment? And you done said some of it already. So just in general terms, with that enhanced performance, will it provide us with a greater opportunity to do more, not only for the services throughout the county, but to make sure other departments, because you feed every department. So I'm giving you opportunity.
Yes, sure. Thank you again, Chairman. So once again, it is about reducing the time frame it takes to process. For instance, if there is a need for, let's say, paving and milling, we do know that we have funds for that. If we're not able to get that down, obviously we can't address the issues and concerns for the citizens. So the whole goal is to make sure that we have a very comprehensive program. Right, because it's about, even when we bring a contractor on, we want to ensure that they're doing the right things for that contract. They're bringing the right services, they're charging the county correctly. Those are errors that can be made if we're not actually modifying, we're not changing those contracts as needed as the county needs the services. So on the flip side, obviously, we've always made it happen, to your point, and we appreciate that. But also, at some point, we can't move the county forward because we can't provide the services and goods that's needed. As the county grows, our services grow. Procurement has to be a part of that. We certainly don't want the departments taking it upon themselves to do the services that get the services they need, are the goods and commodities. So it is important, because we have centralized purchasing, meaning everything comes to central services, that we have the right staff that will be able to provide that.
Thank you for that explanation. Go ahead.
Okay.
Commissioner.
Yes, my question is, and not so much, well, it's a question, but also a recommendation. We are doing this, training our staff and all, and like some of the other departments, we train them, they go somewhere else. So what can we do, or do we have something in place that will help to either deter or put that off?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Commissioner. So one of the things that this reorganization did, so if you remember, we brought this to you guys back in February, kind of laying the stage and the groundwork for today, because we wanted to do this as a part of the budget process. Ms. Carroll, not unlike many of our public safety agencies, which we've addressed over the last few budget cycles, she brings people into her organization. She's established benchmarks for training and certifications that she is now requiring. She brings them in, she trains them, and then another agency hires them. MARTA has hired a couple, City of Stonecrest has hired a couple, Board of Education has hired a couple. So she's bringing them in, she's training them, and then they're leaving to go to higher paid jobs. What this does is it brings in a tiered system where we're now paying for that level of certification. So as somebody comes into the department and gets those additional certifications, historically speaking, their pay hasn't increased with those certifications. Now under this model, it does. So that's, to your point, Commissioner Hambert, we're hoping that staves off now that they know, hey, if I go get this certification, there's a pay benefit associated with that. They'll be less inclined to start seeking those. Much like our public safety agencies, people know how well trained Ms. Carroll is going to train her people, so they throw gobs of money at them because they're not having to pay to train them. And they're hiring them away. So this seeks to address that. The other thing this does, Commissioner Davis, kind of back to your thought process, is one of the challenge we have is with our RFPs, our RFBs, our RFQs, those things that we have to send out for bid. The longer those sit, one of the things we're seeing is We live in a world now where construction and procurement costs escalate and are highly volatile. So if we have a request for a bid that goes out and it takes us 6 to 8 months to turn that, what we could have paid for it 8 months ago is not what we're going to pay for it once that bid comes back in. So not being able to spend these bids and get them out, get them through what Ms. Carroll has to do, and that timeline changes based off the project type, going back to the GDOT question. What she didn't tell you is she's one of those ones that holds that GDOT certification. So for those grants that she's having to now process, that takes her away from other areas of her organization that could be going and processing things that require her oversight.
Well, yeah, and that's the big thing for me. The investment in this department, we recoup in savings. So the ROI, to me, is immediately understood.
Any other questions? If you don't mind, put that slide back up in terms of the options for motions. All right, so if there's not any other questions, I will take a motion in reference to the proposed budget.
Okay, that was Amendment 2,
Correct.
right?
Yes,
Can we
ma'am.
go over, just look at Amendment 1 again? Yeah, it looks like a couple of these are mandates from the state.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, that for me. I know one of them is a mandate was the magistrate court judge, as far as the pay, which they are absorbing. The state is absorbing that.
No, sir.
Which one? Well, I'm thinking Superior.
No, we are paying those costs.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm getting it wrong on that, so thank you for that correction. So the total for this one is 316.
That's the total adopted budget would be 316.9 million, which is the same because we're reducing expenses within the budget to accommodate the increases. So the budget will remain the same as it is currently at the 316.9 million.
So it's remaining, so it's budget neutral here with what we're going.
Yes,
But we have more than one state mandate.
correct. We also have the state ethics board,
Right.
or the ethics board, it's not the state, but the mandate that we put that in, so it is included within that 316.9 million.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a motion? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the proposed budget book with amendments 1 and 2. Is there a second?
Second?
Any questions? Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Oppose, I'm sorry. It's unanimous, thank you.
Chairman, before we leave, I would also like to thank the Department of Communications, their print shop, for such a quick turnaround on the book this year. Everything kind of came down to the wire, and they were able to turn it around and get it produced in order to have it out in time to make the state mandates as far as the reporting and having it available for public review. And I just want to let them know that I appreciate that, as well as the budget team for being ready and helping and staying late and working hard to get that done.
Absolutely, and we have a good communications team, and you and your staff did a tremendous job, along with Ms. Merritt. And I know there was a lot of lost revenue in this budget. You were able to make sure that when it came to either merit increases or nothing for our employees or even a COLA, that you found a way to make sure that they got at least 4% COLA, which is very important. And also I will add in this budget that there are no layoffs, no furloughs or anything like that, because we do believe in our employees and want to make sure that we can provide for them in terms of salaries and benefits. So you've done a tremendous job with working with what you had to work with, because again, we had some big cuts out here. So kudos to you and your team. And I appreciate this board for digging in and taking the time to really absorb what was being proposed and how we would move to the next level moving forward. So thank everybody involved.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk.
The board will now hear public comments. Citizens will be given 2 minutes maximum time limit to speak. Please remember, these are only on matters on the agenda or over matters which the governing body has jurisdiction. Please maintain decorous demeanor and refrain from personal attacks upon board members, shouting or using obscene language. Please state your name and county of residency, speak clearly into the microphone, and please do not make any disparaging remarks or use abusive language when addressing the board.
Mickey Garber.
Madam Clerk, Mickey Garber, unincorporated Rex, Georgia. Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, and Commissioners, my concern in the budget process here is in some areas the budget is being cut, but our county, I'll say again, our county is both growing in population and both growing in businesses moving here. And so in order for the people and the community and the county and the people within to prosper, that the budget has to be increased and not cut, not on the backs of the homeowners and taxpayers, but on the backs of new businesses and new people moving in. With that being said, I go to my next question or comment. With 2 seats being vacant here, what representation do I have and the people in District 1 have in how budget and spending is going to be managed? And with that being said, I would truly appreciate an answer.
Well, let me say this. The District 1 Commissioner will be seated next week. I think it's next week. Of course, she was not here to be part of the budget process. But even with that being said, I, being the chairman of the county, is elected countywide. Therefore, I'm the representative of those vacant seats in those areas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Board.
Chairman, may I? And also, too, we can also say this, Mr. Garber. I, as well as Commissioner Hambrick, have gotten many calls from the citizens in these other districts, and we've responded to them. So we're not going to leave any citizen in Clayton County just hanging out there.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis.
This looks like maybe Gregory Thomas or Mr. Thomas. Did anybody sign up for public comment? I can't read the signature. I apologize. Yes, ma'am. Did you sign up for it?
I forgot to sign up.
No. Good try, though. I'm not mad at you for trying, but yes, you have to already have signed up. And I can't read this name, so I do apologize, but it does look like maybe Thomas or so. Nobody? Okay. All right, we tried. Mr. Reed.
Good afternoon. No, there is no need for executive session.
Thank you, sir. With that being said, and no further business being before this board, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second the motion. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Oppose? It's unanimous. Thank you.